The Louisville Cardinals entered the 2022 season ranked as a borderline top 5 team in the country in the AP preseason poll, a fair estimate to put them in after bolstering their roster through the transfer period. However, as the season concluded a couple months ago now, it became clear that they had exceeded expectations, making a run to the Final Four and challenging the eventual champions in South Carolina. A big reason why the Cardinals were able to take this leap was because of sophomore Hailey Van Lith's monster improvement over the season, becoming one of the better shot creators and pure scorers in the NCAAW in a matter of months. Ultimately, she became the X factor for Louisville, and hence was so important to their Final Four run. I've been a huge fan of Hailey since her high school days, and I've always wanted to break down her game and identify the areas where she makes her impact. So that's what I'm here to do in today's video. So today I'll be analysing the key strengths and weaknesses of Hailey Van Lith's game and how she played a critical role in Louisville's deep postseason run, as well as their chances to do the same thing this upcoming season. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more women's basketball content like this. I'm trying to reach 3,000 subscribers, so all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about Hailey Van Lith. Hailey Van Lith played arguably the best basketball of her career in 2022, elevating her numbers across the board. She averaged 14.4 points per game with a handful of rebounds and assists, shooting quite well from the field and from three, splits of 43, 36, 82. She reasserted herself as one of the top guards in the nation, and ultimately, in Louisville's surprise run to the Final Four, Van Lith found herself as the key X factor to their postseason successes. Until the Final Four matchup against South Carolina, where admittedly HVL was pretty mediocre, she'd been on a run of 4 20-plus point games, absolutely elite stuff considering how much the game tends to slow down in the postseason, and considering Louisville's competition too. But stats only show so much, so let's take a deeper dive into Hailey's season and break down the footage to truly illustrate her immense impact on Louisville's success this past season and how that will continue into next year. The biggest strength of Hailey's game last season that made such an impact for Louisville was her scoring and pure shot-making abilities. She can score at all three levels, whether that's off the dribble or on the catch. She's versatile enough to break down a defense and score at a high rate. She's an elite finisher around the rim, using her strength and physicality to body smaller defenders inside, as well as forcing her way up and over rim protectors. In my opinion, her physicality as a guard is unmatched by anyone in the country, and these clips should exemplify that. After a bit of a stumble, HVL regathers herself and continues the layup attempt, initiating contact with the defender to create an and one opportunity, though the potential foul isn't called here. Here's another example of Hailey using her body to initiate contact under the rim to eradicate her defender from the play before patiently rising to finish the offense. And here's another. There are just so many examples of Hailey using her body well to get into elite positioning on her defenders, enabling her to get a much easier shot off around the rim. Yet, what's impressive from Hailey, if you actually watch her play, is that these kind of plays aren't forced all the time. She's not always searching for the contact and foul. The main priority of hers is to score. It just so happens to be that in some cases, her physicality enables her to do this a lot more effectively around the rim, and particularly last season, became a legitimate weapon of hers in her offensive arsenal. Not only that though, but Hailey's pull-up jumper is also sweet, and her ability to stop on a dime and rise up is truly underrated. She's got a solid three-pointer too, definitely not someone you want to leave open on the perimeter, And as you can see from these clips, she's such a versatile scorer outside the paint that she can be very tough to guard. This kind of play on the perimeter, as well as the aforementioned physicality inside, was a big reason why Louisville went on such a deep run. Hailey's ability to go into her bag as a ball handler in the biggest moments was critical in leading Louisville in the half court, creating for others and herself, and ultimately proved to be a difference maker in quite a tough stretch of games where the Cardinals faced several quality opponents in the postseason. The scoring was simply a must in this run, and her explosion through that consecutive 20-point game stretch diversified Louisville's offense and made them must-watch basketball. However, Hailey isn't just excellent at creating her own shots. Whether that's getting downhill or moving into a pull-up jumper, she's also been great at being an off-ball player, which made her such an excellent combo piece with Emily Engstler last season. Hailey would regularly be cutting off the ball into beneficial situations or moving around the perimeter to be a catch-and-shoot target on a kick-out. Here, for example, she reads the defense off the pin down and quickly moves into the open lane to lay it in with zero contest. Her jump shooting abilities make it hard for defenders to sag off on her on the perimeter. So when they fall asleep in situations like this, Hailey is able to make the most of it. With her solid 3-point percentage of around 37%, Van Lith was able to make several teams pay in the postseason, especially in their second round matchup versus Gonzaga, where she drilled 50% of her attempts. Overall, the variety of Hailey Van Lith scoring made Louisville an unpredictable offense to defend, with her capable to use her strength and brute force when attacking to get inside and punish a less physical big, like she did in the non-Boston minutes versus South Carolina, or creating her own shot off the dribble, or making plays off ball with smart cuts and good perimeter movement. Overall, all these things made the Cards a diverse offense. That level of scoring undoubtedly put them in a better position to win games in the postseason. Another major strength of Hailey Van Lith's would certainly be her rebounding, because for a 5'7" guard, she's been dominating some bigs on the board some nights. Though she wasn't really able to make a major impact scoring against South Carolina in the Final Four, she went hard at the boards, finishing with 9 on the night, and punishing the Gamecocks for resting Aaliyah Boston. Louisville as a whole were intense on the glass in those minutes and had SC on the back foot for some periods of time. Again, for a guard of her height and with her role offensively, Hailey's effort on the glass is extremely impressive, and that kind of heart makes her such a great leader on the floor for Louisville. Obviously, like any young player, Van Lith has her weaknesses, and defense is probably her most prominent one in my opinion. She can get lost in rotation sometimes, and though her physicality allows her to match up well on smaller guards, sometimes she can be a bit slow to close out on shooters or move laterally to keep up with the quicker, shiftier guards. This was exposed in the Final Four by the Gamecocks star backcourt in Zaya Cook and Destiny Henderson, so that is something she'll probably need to improve on going into her junior season, especially with Emily Engstler now in the WNBA. However, her offensive impact is so large that I think some poor defense here and there doesn't negate her too much and make her any sort of liability when she's on the court. But again, this is definitely something we'd want to see improve. Now, obviously, Hailey Van Lith didn't carry Louisville on this Final Four run by any stretch. That's not what I'm suggesting today. Players like Emily Engstler were also extremely large factors who contributed heavily to the Cardinals' success. But it is without a doubt that Louisville got that deep in the postseason thanks to Hailey Van Lith and her sophomore season explosion. Her play peaked at the right time, and she was simply instrumental at her best. When South Carolina shut her down in the Final Four game, that's when Louisville's offense floundered for probably the first time in a while. And though I thought they were still extremely competitive in that game and weren't necessarily walked over, thanks to their defense and rebounding, they definitely were missing that impact from Hailey offensively. Ultimately, it forced them into playing catch-up basketball for a majority of the night. But even with that said, when the 2022-23 season arrives, with Louisville looking to run it back for the most part, expect another big leap from Hailey Van Lith. Without Emily Engstler now, she'll take an even bigger role offensively, and with the dramatic improvements we saw in her game last season, she's looking like a genuine All-American shout in my eyes, and should ultimately be the reason why they are yet again a top 5 team in the country when it's all said and done. Hailey Van Lith is an incredibly exciting player to watch, and you certainly don't want to miss any of her action in 2023. But that will conclude the video. What are your thoughts on my analysis of Hailey Van Lith? Did I miss anything? How good will the Cardinals be next season to you? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.